So this is a recap. Basically, I made a reel asking people what was Satan's side of the story. We all know basically what technically happened in the Jewish mythology of the war in heaven between Satan and the rebellious angels and Michael and his angels. Basically, God kicked Satan and a third of the angels out of heaven, so on and so forth, because basically Satan wanted to be like God. At least that's what we have been told. So I, being the critical thinker that I am, wanted to ask the question, what was Satan's side of the story? Why hasn't anybody ever wanted to know Satan's side of the story? Listen, why hasn't anybody ever asked Satan about his side of the story? I just want to know. Somebody ask Big Lucy what's going on. That's all I'm saying. You know, when we look at certain court cases and things of that matter, when we hear certain rumors and gossip, we want to know both sides of the spectrum, because we always know that there's always going to be he say, she say. There's always going to be a faded line between truth and lies. And so why not know Satan's side of the story? Could his side of the story show more of the characteristics of the so-called God that you worship in the Bible? Who knows? But a lot of Christians, a lot of religious people have no intentions of wanting to know Satan's side of the story because of the picture that they have been painted of the devil. And it showed in my comment section, because I had so many comments, and I'm not going to go over all of them, but comments like, please talk about Jesus, don't give the devil any credit. Another comment was saying, way to give all the old elite racist validation for calling us demons. I don't even know how he came to that conclusion. Another comment says, black people swear everything was created because of them, or like how black skin color was the first to be on land. That sounds like a personal problem. We go on, we get another comment, you can ask the devil when you go to hell. Believe me, he will not give a damn about you or what you think. Be careful what comes out of your mouth, and don't speak for a whole generation of people. Anyways, praying you come to your senses. Now, it's ironic that he was saying that I can't speak for a whole generation of people, and at the same time he's speaking for the devil. Which brings me back to my point, because first of all, how you know if the devil is going to hell? How you know that hell is real? How do you know the devil is real? All these other type of things, right? How do you know that he won't care about me or what I think? Have you had a conversation with the devil? Evidently not. So these superstitions that religious people have on the devil is completely beyond me. So I respond and I say, hysterical, you tell me I'm going to hell, in the end, and to end off your conversation or your statement was saying that you're going to pray for me, very Christ-like of you. The delivery scheme of Christians in the way of trying to convert people is very, very astounding to me. Being somebody who be a Christian, somebody who used to be in the ministry and used to teach, the delivery be very off with a lot of you Christians. We get another comment saying, man, I'm gonna pray for you. Satan wasn't black, he was red. Evidently you think that the devil has a pitchfork and horns and red skin. Go terrors. Another comment says, you should not even want to know his side of the story. You can read the Bible and find out all you need to know about Satan. Now, the Bible is written by the victors, allegedly, right? If the narration of the Bible is written biasly, and it basically makes every other nation heathens, every other nation doesn't come up to the greatness of Israel, how am I supposed to gain any form of actual information about any of the other nations, any other culture, any other sets of people, or any other deities accurately if you're naming every other entity, every other culture, every other civilization to be heathens, evil, dealing in witchcraft and perversions according to the eyes of the God of Israel? It doesn't make sense. You're not going to get an accurate conclusion or an accurate analysis or breakdown of the other nations based upon the biased perspective of a nation of people. Of course, in the book of Psalms, there's going to be many different praises and many different songs for their God. Of course, in the Bible, they're going to put their God on high. Every other civilization does that. You got to come up with something better. So to say that I shouldn't even want to know Satan's side of the story because the Bible said his side of the story is just bringing back to my point. We only know what the Israelites, or so-called Isaiah, allegedly talking about Lucifer. But we only know the perspective of what the church has given us concerning Lucifer. We don't know Lucifer's side of the story if he was a real entity. And no, I don't believe that God of the Bible or Satan and Lucifer are real. Other than dealing with entities or these energies that we might call Lucifer or Satan or Yahweh. But other than that, these entities do not exist. These entities were created mythologically. Another comment says, find Jesus before you find yourself in the deceiver's presence, and too late, ask another question. It's very funny that these Christians, these religious folk in my comment section, could not give me an answer. It was either it's in the Bible, I'm going to have plenty of time to ask him when I go to hell, or I shouldn't even want to know to begin with. It's illogical. You should always want to know two sides of the spectrum, two sides of the quarter. You should always want to know the duality of things. Like I said before earlier in the video, when somebody's talking mess or when there's rumors going around, you want to get to the bottom of the truth. So you want to know the person who's talking mess and then the person that they're talking mess about. And more times than not, the person that isn't even being messy or the one who's being talked about has more of the true story than the one who's talking mess. And, I respond, find him. Is he hiding? And I never understood people that have to tell me, find Jesus. Find Jesus? What, I could find him at a store or something? Like, what? Where is he hiding? Where can I find Jesus? Is there a location? Does he have a number? Does he have an address? What you mean, find Jesus? I know. Lord have mercy. It don't even make sense to me. Find Jesus. Why can't he find me? He found Paul when he was on the way to Damascus. He found John on the island of Patmos. He found all the 12 disciples. He found Mary Magdalene. He found Lazarus. He can't find me. The man can't come to me himself. That's beyond me. I'm good off that. But I want to quickly break down the basis of Satan's character, because originally there is no devil figure or Satan figure in the Bible. This tradition of there being a devilish or a satanic figure that has this rebellious, agenda against God or the Most High is not true. This was something that was created traditionally by the Roman Catholic Church. And so they created this figure of the devil to create a form of fear-mongering amongst the people, to keep them subservient, to instill fear in a lot of the people, to even more so condone their actions in terms of how they treated pagan people who practice pagan traditions, and was saying that these people are committing acts of the devil. These are devilish acts, these are satanic acts, and they need to be put down. They need to be discriminated against. Their traditions and the things that they practice need to be outcast. That's what the whole thing with the witch hunt and burning witches at the stake is, because they condone these things, because the devil working in mysterious ways and so on and so forth. Now you might look at this video and be like, am I saying that evil spirits and negative spirits don't exist? No, that's not what I'm saying by any chance. But at the same time, you have to come to a realization that the perspective that you see in the Bible and that you have learned from church is not the only perspective there is to spirituality. You have to understand that in this whole cycle of the world and civilizations in itself, the Bible in itself is merely 6,000 years old. The New Testament is merely 2,000 years old, and the New Testament don't even have their original manuscripts. And even when dealing with the manuscripts of the New Testament, it was written in Greek literature. Which of the 12 disciples were highly educated in writing Greek literature? None of them. None. So who wrote the scriptures? And even more so, stories were written decades after Jesus allegedly was alive on earth. Do you know how fogged and misinformed or misinterpreted, or do you know how invalid stories can become after decades? There's always going to be a different version. There's always going to be a different side or a different angle or something that isn't accurate, unless it was mythologically made, allegorically, mystically made for a certain reason. Unless you have to come to the conclusion that these books, these stories were written for an allegorical, metaphorical purpose, because these are not eyewitness accounts. Moses supposedly wrote the first 5 books of the Bible. How? Who documented his death in the book of Deuteronomy? I just want to know. Who wrote Jesus, or who was there with Jesus when he was in the desert for 40 days? At what point did Jesus tell of his whole background and his whole childhood, from the moment where he was born, everything dealing with Moses or Joseph and Mary, and dealing with his cousin John the Baptist, when Jesus was in the garden and all the disciples were asleep? Who was recording Jesus' prayer to the Father? Did Jesus just automatically told him about the prayer after his resurrection or something of that matter? You know what I'm saying? These are holes that you just have to make up on your own and have to come to certain conclusions, because you just can't accept the fact that your Jesus ain't real. I'll even give you space to say that the character Jesus in the Bible could have been inspired by a historical figure that we might call today Jesus. I'll give you that much. But for a man to be walking on water, for a man to turn water into wine, for a man to die and resurrect in 3 days, he's not real. And he is not coming back for your black ass. Now, dealing with Satan, right? The term Satan in the Bible is used as a title, is used as a description for something, for someone, in terms of the role that they are playing in a certain story. So even David at one point was called a Satan. He was called an accuser, an adversary. Anytime that you see the term Satan or devil, typically in the Old Testament, is typically talking about a person playing the role of the accuser or the adversary, not depicting a satanic or devilish figure in the forms of a demon or a devil prince or king like the one we know to be Satan. It's not real. So you have that other end of the spectrum, right? But let's just say that Satan was real. Let's just say that the Bible was really depicting Satan. Let's just say that Isaiah was really depicting the fall of Lucifer when he wasn't. He was depicting or using an analogy to talk about the king of Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar. I can't say his name for my life. King Nebi. We're just going to call him Nebi. So you're dealing with the basis of all this information. You have to come to the conclusion that, even the Jews of today don't believe in a Satan figure, a devil figure. So you go back to the Roman Catholic Church, you then learn that they created the concept of hell. They created the devil. They created this form, this figure of Satan, and used an Afrocentric entity, an Afrocentric image for this figure, which even more so gave them power, gave them a little bit of amp to demonize our traditions, to demonize our spiritual systems, to such a point that now black people deem voodoo and hoodoo and root work in their own spirituality as evil, as perverted. Imagine that. You are willing to give up your own traditions, your own spiritual systems, for the system that your oppressor or the colonizers gave to you. There's no amount of there's no justification for that. You subconsciously see the savior of your own world, your own God, the one that you tried to be. You subconsciously see him as somebody opposite from you, somebody who is Eurocentric, and it shows subconsciously in your behavioral patterns. Does that not bother you to know that your ancestors were forced to believe in Christianity? They were forced to believe in a messianic figure. They were forced to look for God outside of themselves. And so you go around here blaming God for this and blaming God for that, giving praise to God for this and blaming the devil for that, never giving accountability to yourself in the things that you do in your own personal life. It's beyond me. So if just anything that I would leave with you today is for you to understand that the devil ain't real. And if you think that I practice anything in terms of Satanism or anything that is devilish, I want you to understand that our own practices and our own spiritual systems are deemed satanic and devilish as it is. So if you think that I practice Satanism in that aspect, then so be it. Even on a mystical perspective, when you break down the word Satanism, it's representing a certain act of being the opposer, the one who rebels, getting into being Prometheus. So if you're going to deem me as being the rebel on that spectrum, so be it. I'll be Lucifer. I'll be Prometheus. I will be the Satan of your own life. I will be the hero in my story and the villain in yours. I will be demonic, because demonic only means to be divine. To be demonic means that I am activating my genius, my genie within myself, the jinn. I am activating the hidden one. Because when you deal with Damon, you deal with Amon Ra. My boy Baffy over there in the back. We're gonna rep it all every day, because we understand the energy and what it represents and how we can utilize it. Get spooked out if you wanna. Ain't got nothing to do with me though. We're gonna live deliciously. But if you agree or disagree with any of the things that I have to say, let me know your thoughts respectfully in the comment section below, alright? And before you go, make sure you check out some more of my content as well. You don't want to miss that one. Till next time, we out.
If you're a black person that loves God and believe that God loves you in your blackness, you cannot be a Christian.